all of what Michael Jackson did during his life and to maintain someone who helped open so many doors for so many people, that his legacy will be preserved forever. Thank you all, and God bless all of you. I am open to taking any questions that the media might have.
Victoria Sanchez with ABC 7 News. Where will the money come for the foundation if the state has control of the funds?
Well, because the estate does have, because the estate does have control of the funds, the foundation will move forward independently. Personal contributions and contributions that we will raise. For instance, we're in the process of planning a tribute to Michael Jackson. And we're hoping that those funds will be able to be used for an exhibition in the African American Museum for him. We're going to give locally to the Southeast Tennis and Learning Center, and we're going to give money to Heal the World because Prince Jackson is relaunching that. So we're going to be moving forward in a positive way, planning something very special for Michael Jackson.
Rocky Twine from Rocky's PR Mills, I commend you for your perseverance. But I want to ask you, I know Michael Jackson and President Trump had a very special relationship. Are you going to solicit the help of President Trump in the foundation?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. Michael Jackson and Donald Trump were very close. Michael considered him a very close friend, and he said to me on many occasions that Mr. Trump was one of the few people who never turned his back on him and who was there to help him during his trial. I would love to be able to ask the president to help find Michael Jackson's 2006 will and also reopen what is going on with regards to Michael Jackson's death, and we'll see. But Michael Jackson thought quite a bit of Mr. Trump because he was loyal to him, and that was, you know, during Michael's life. Yes.
Hi, we're at the Shelter here host. Aside from yourself, who else is part of the Legacy Foundation and your members of the family?
Well, I want to acknowledge Mr. Joe Coleman, Dr. Vanessa Weaver, Mr. Charles Moreland. They're here, and others who have said that they're going to be a part of this. We are just launching, so let me just say this too about Mr. Jackson's mandate in 2006. He was extremely methodical, as I said, and when he sat down, he had a media committee, an investment committee. He had those who would preserve and protect his legacy through his publishing. So as I move forward, I want to bring in people and form those committees as well, so that what his mandate was in trying to move forward in a positive way, we'll be able to help with some of his goals and objectives by doing that.
Is his family involved?
They will be involved. I have not contacted them at all because I think his family has done a great job in protecting and defending him, but it's like what would happen with you. If you're continuously defamed and demeaned and you're continuously bannered about, it's time for the people who are around you on a day-to-day basis, those people who know you professionally, to step up and say, you know what, I know her professional integrity, I observed her, and I know that the person whom I walked with or worked with for 8 to 10 years is incapable, but I also know, based on my personal relationship, what she would have wanted. And so that is the reason why I am standing out. Katherine Jackson and I have been engaged together in litigation going on for several years. I respect her, I respect the Jackson family, and in fact, if you look at my bio, I represented Janet as well as Michael, So I have a special place in my heart, and I am hoping that as we progress, we will be able to have some participation from them, but they have been very key and very honest and very efficient and effective in defending Michael. But my position at this point is that we've got to move past the family and bring in people who knew him, who loved him, who worked with him every single day, so that they can move forward and do some things positive and take some of the burden from the family. Because I can imagine it's been quite difficult for them to have to defend every single day without people that were around him stepping up to the plate. And that's what we're doing. Yes.
So maybe you could clarify more about fundraising. So you're saying you would hold events and others?
Well, what we're going to do, we are going to plan a tribute to Michael Jackson. That's going to be the first thing. And as we move forward for those organizations and those causes that we know that he held very close and dear to his heart, we will be making contributions in his name. Yes.
Thomas Hart from on Potomac Productions. Looking beautiful for alone.
Thank you. That's a longtime friend of mine, by the way, so he's biased.
I remember when we went to the Capitol Hill with Michael. And so my question is, have you reached out to the Black Caucus? Are we going to be something in a roundtable discussion as the Black Caucus comes to Washington in September, or have you touched base with any of them?
Well, no, not yet, because we are at the beginning stages, just as we are with the family. We haven't reached out to a lot of people or organizations yet. You were there when he came into town on 2004, and he met with them about AIDS and about contributing to AIDS research and to buy medicine for the people in Africa, because at that time we've come a long way with AIDS research and the purchasing of medicine for the underserved there. And that was in 2004, which was, several years ago. But hopefully we'll be able to engage a number of organizations that he was a part of, because he was one of the first to contribute to the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation many, many years ago. So giving away $300 million in your lifetime, I mean, that's a lot of money. You can imagine how many organizations he did give to. And one of the things that we were concerned about is that, since his death, we know of no contributions. And so we wanted to step up and do something about that, because growing up in the South, and as I said, Coretta King was one of my mentors, and I see Angie Gates, and I see Estelle Lloyd, and I see Prophetess Cordless, and I see some Mindy Lloyd, and Harvey Starr, and Dr. Weaver. All of them are people who step up and fight for what's right and for equality. And I would be remiss if I did not do that. You can't sit on the sidelines and wait for someone else. This man trusted me. I held several historic positions with him, and I feel I would be remiss if I did not stand up for him the way I would hope he would stand up for me. And I also want to acknowledge Cookie Brown, Chuck Brown's daughter. She's just celebrated his birthday and anniversary today. So we want to say happy birthday to Chuck Brown, who is a legend here in Washington, D.C. Next question. Yes.
One more question, come on. What would
Well, I don't know, because having, as you all know, I've worked for Babyface and Boyz II Men and Steve Harvey and the king of comedy and so many recording artists, and I know that as you plan events, it costs. So we've got to raise enough money to come out with something befitting of Michael Jackson, and in fact, some of the calls I've already made have been very positive with regards to the industry and for people that we have reached out to initially. And I want to say thank you to Serena Williams too, because if it had not been for her, and in fact Michael Jackson had been in the studio with Babyface, he had been traveling with Boyz II Men and Quadrilla Men. Would you come up here, please? Quadrilla Men is a longtime mentor and friend of mine. He represents Boyz II Men and Janet Jackson and Vanessa Williams. Quadri took me, this is really interesting. Jimmy Carter had me contact Michael in 1990 for him to partner with him for Heal the World. Quadri took me in 1998 to South Korea, where Boyz II Men performed with Michael Jackson and Michael Jackson and Friends. And here is someone who has opened a lot of doors and has been a trendsetter for so many in the industry. Let's give Quadrilla Men a round of applause. Quadri and I, along with Katherine Jackson and others, have been engaged in litigation against the estate of Michael Jackson, so I'm not going to be secret about that. We're hoping that one day right will come to the top and we'll be treated with respect, and you know, we'll be able to mediate and do the right things, because Michael Jackson was a good man. Michael Jackson was exceptional in that he wasn't mean-spirited. He was not a bully. He didn't intimidate. He did the right thing. And that's why I'm stepping up, because I don't believe he's been treated fairly. And because I knew him, he moved here to be with me for 6 months to turn around his personal and professional life. What more can I do but to step up for him? And that's why I'm here today. Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a question. You said you and Katherine Jackson are currently suing the estate. Could you tell us more about that litigation?
Well, yes. Michael Jackson left. I don't know whether we have that document, but Michael Jackson left a mandate signed where he issued certain ownership of his company, the Michael Jackson Company, to several individuals, including me and his mother, Catherine, and others. And it's been a long journey. It hasn't been pretty. It hasn't been fair. It hasn't been easy. And, you know, as a Georgetown Law School graduate, I've gone into court looking for balanced scales of justice. I haven't quite seen it, because for African Americans and for women, it's pretty tough out here in the court system. But I'm hoping that at some point in time, we'll have a positive result.
So what is the status of the lawsuit?
Well, right now we are at the process of fighting an issue of a lawyer having submitted a document 1 minute late, and the court saying they're not going to accept it now. So that's where we currently are. But because it's an ongoing legal matter, I can't say much more. But all I can say is I hope you all pray for us, because we've been in litigation for 10 years, and that's a real long time to be fighting for justice.
As we continue the press conference, can you please state your name and where you're from? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Harvey. And Harvey Starr Washington is a legend. He just celebrated his 41st anniversary as one of the first people in fashion and design, and let me tell you what his specialty was. Many people were discriminated against because of their size. Harvey Starr Washington decided that all sizes are beautiful, particularly the full-figured woman. So Harvey gave full-figured women an opportunity to show their beauty. So Harvey, thank you for that. Ma'am, where were you from?
I'm from Billboard, Maryland.
All right. Hi.
Victoria Sanchez again with ABC 7 News. Is there an amount of money that you already have currently with the foundation?
No, we're just at the beginning stages of it, and hopefully we will have monies in the kitty soon, but we're just starting. And I felt it appropriate to come out at this time because next week is Michael Jackson's birthday. A few months ago was the anniversary of his death, so I couldn't think of a better time because all we've heard this year, all we've heard is negativism. Everything negative about Michael Jackson. Every single thing. Since the beginning of the year, you have not heard one positive thing about this man who sold over 1 billion records and who gave over $300 million away in his lifetime. So that's why I can't say it enough. And when is a good time? Someone asked me, well, is there a specific time that you've chosen? When is a good time? When you're going to honor somebody who's done so much for so many people, any time is a good time. You don't have to just wait until the anniversary of the death or birthday, and I felt that it was an appropriate time to do so.
Thank you.
Yes? Yes. Uh-huh.
So, for people in this area, because Michael Jackson has influenced so many artists, so many different people that aren't famous, they're just going to dance like him, be like him. For those people that inspire and fans in this area, who do we contact, who do they contact if they want to start an organization for him or donate something, name something with him? Like,
I would say the estate of Michael Jackson for that. The executors of his estate would be the appropriate people for you to go to do something official for as far as dancing and contests and those kinds of things.
not for conference, but just you stated that no one has named anything for
Yes.
them, like for that, not just for the.
Well, I would think that if there were something that you wanted to do personally, and it's through a school or an organization, no one would bar you from naming something for Michael Jackson that's going to help other people. And if you want to give a Michael Jackson scholarship away, or someone who dances like Michael, you know, there's a very thin line there, but I would suggest that you go through the estate of Michael Jackson. Yes, more questions? Is there anything else? Yes, Tiffany.
Yes, Ramon Bain and Company. My question is for us that are millennials. What's the best way that we can carry out his legacy for ages to come?
Well, you know, one of the things I said is, you know, hashtag MJ New Beginning. Just post online your thoughts. Has Michael Jackson done anything for you? How has he influenced you? My mom used to always say, don't worry so much about the negative. Continue to do the positive. And as long as you do that, the positive will always rise to the top. And that's what I'm saying here. Since we're almost in 2020. And all we've heard are accusations of which this man was acquitted for on, June 13th, 2005, by people who at that time testified that he had never done anything wrong or inappropriate. So there has to be some balance here. Do I wait until you die, Cookie, and then I come out here and I make some accusation against you that you can't step up and defend yourself? Michael Jackson is no different than any of us. He has a name. He was one of the greatest entertainers of all time, but he deserves the same kind of courtesy as one of us would. Yes.
One last question for you. Excuse me. Can you just tell us what you have in mind for the tribute event?
Well, I want it to be big because I think he deserves that. And there are so many recording artists and so many people who've stepped up for him, you know. And there are 4 people I want to thank: Kanye West, will.i.am, Fergie, and Akon, because they were on the 25th anniversary Thriller CD. And those were some of the last recordings that Michael Jackson made in 2007. I want to thank Beyonce. She was one of the few people who would agree to give Michael Jackson his award at the World Music Awards. The organization told us that right after his acquittal, and between the acquittal and the World Music Awards, they were having a hard time finding anyone who would agree to honor him. And I want to thank Beyonce for stepping up, because people were telling her not to do it. She defied them. And Chris Brown, who performed on behalf of Michael Jackson. And then there's Steve Harvey, who decided to go to church with Michael Jackson one day during the trial, and who has been a strong supporter, and David Chappelle, and others who, despite what you hear in the news or what you read, these people all step forward to pay tribute to and to show their friendship to Michael Jackson. And they deserve to be thanked, because during the time of his life, it was very hurtful when people were asked to step up and either perform or pay tribute to him. They said no. And so I would be remiss if I did not take the time to publicly thank all of them. And I was starting to say something about Serena. During the time that I represented her, she and Venus were doing so wonderfully in tennis, and she still is. But I asked their mother, Oracene, what can I do to show them that I appreciate the fact that they are winning and that they have hired me. Serena's hired me. And she said, well, if you introduce them to Michael Jackson, they will die. But don't bring him to the tournament, because they'll lose. So during one of the tournaments out in LA, the WTA Tour Championships, I took that as an opportunity to make the introduction, not knowing that Neverland Valley Ranch was 4 hours in a good day from LA, and it was a surprise. So as we got to Oxnard, California, Serena says, Ramon, where are we going? And I said, well, it's a surprise. She says, no, the surprise is on you. We are turning back. I have a tournament tomorrow. When I told her, I said, well, he's going to be very disappointed. And she said, he who? I said, Michael Jackson. She says, what? The king of pop? You mean Michael Jackson? Well, Serena sang Michael Jackson songs for the next 2 hours as we went to Neverland Valley Ranch. And it was because of the time we spent there with him. He asked me for my number, asked Serena for her number, and he just immediately began calling us back. We didn't realize that the next day he was going into court. We didn't leave until 3 a.m. The next day he came into court with a disguise and on crutches. And Serena called me up and said, Ramon, turn on CNN. Watch Michael. She says, he's on crutches. Well, we looked, and Michael told them that he had been bitten by a spider. Serena called me up and said, did we see any spiders yesterday at Neverland Valley Ranch? I said, no, but you know, I guess that's his excuse for being late. But you know, I have gotten and had the support of so many people, and I thank them, Babyface and Muhammad Ali and Mahdi and Armstrong Williams, who arranged for me to meet Richard Pryor and to be hired by him and Terry Giles, his lawyer at the time, and Walter Latham and Kenny Edmonds, Babyface. And my relationship with him is now in the 32nd year. I want to thank all of them. And Estelle, thank you so much for what you're doing for the Democratic women. And I see Janice, and I see Helen and Andrea from the Democratic women, and so many of you, Sonia and Donna. Thank you so much. And Angie Gates is like doing so much here in the District of Columbia for film and entertainment and music. She has initiated so many innovative programs and events on behalf of our mayor, Muriel Bowser, whom I love very much. And Constance Newman, you're sitting over there just quiet, but this woman here is an icon. She was the director of personnel management. She's been the advisor to so many presidents. She headed up USAID. She was Assistant Secretary of State. So Connie, I am so honored that you are here. Thank you so very much. And that's one of the things about Michael Jackson. And this is a quick little story. Somehow a watch owned by Michael Jackson ended up in the Congo. Well, because I guess the watch was so expensive, it got to the king. Well, when the king saw the watch that was being sold on the street, he said, oh my God, this is the watch I gave Michael Jackson. And he didn't know how the watch got back to the Congo. But in the bottom line is, he called my office and said, his people, we have Michael Jackson's watch that was being sold on the street, and we're gonna send it back to him. That's the kind of man he was. He knew kings and queens and princesses and princes, but he never lost his touch with people. He was just as humble and at home sitting right here than he would be with the king of Saudi Arabia or the Sultan of Brunei, whom he had me call on his behalf one day. He called me and said, Ramon, I need to talk to my friend, the Sultan of Brunei. And I said, really? And he says, yeah, I need for you to get the number so that you can put the call through. And of course, how do I call the Sultan of Brunei? Well, going through the embassy, I was able to do so. But that was the level that Michael Jackson operated on. And I am extremely honored to have had the opportunity to work for him and all of the other people, because you don't find many African Americans or women who've been given the opportunity to serve in the various capacities that I have throughout my career. And I'm honestly humbled to all means based on the kind of support and the confidence and the trust that so many in the entertainment and sports industry have given me. And I'm humbled that all of you have come here today to hear what I've got to say on behalf of my friend, Michael Jackson. Thank you.